Hello, and welcome to day 62 of 99 Days of Deeper Embodiment. My name is Jason King. I'm just going to pause and wait for anyone who may want to join. So today is day 62 of 99 Days of Deeper Embodiment, but actually, yesterday I did not do a live stream, so I missed today. And it's funny, I didn't do a live stream because it just did not want to, it didn't want to be done yesterday. I kept moving into the flow of doing the live stream and it didn't want to move through me. So, so wonderful. I don't know. I mean, there was a lot of charges that I was feeling through yesterday. It was a very energetically heavy day. So maybe that's why live stream didn't want to come through. I have no idea, really. All I know is that every time I moved in the direction of doing the live stream, it didn't want to happen. So I did not do one. However, today I'm doing it, and I'm actually energetically encoding it to cover 2 days, because I can do that. I mean, that's the power that we have when we're creating. And so I'm creating it so that it is energetically encoded as 2 days, so it covers the lapse. And I'll also be doing an additional day, because I labeled it day 62 of 99 days rather than day 63. So wonderful. Now, feeling deeply into what is here today, what is present today, what I'm feeling is a huge amount of panic around the dissolution of government, the dissolution of hopes and dreams and ideas around the future. A lot of meeting of anxiety around what may come to pass, what is coming to pass. A lot of anxiety around what is unknown about what will come to pass. Anxiety around everything in general. Who knows? Doesn't matter. It's totally unimportant. It really doesn't matter. So I'm feeling, the point is that I'm feeling a lot of energy. A lot of ideas are coming up to be met and to be felt and to be dissolved. And one of the very consistent ones that's been coming up is that I'm not loved. 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 And so I've been meeting this one over the course of the past 2 days, and it's like, whoa, wow, there is a lot of this very repetitive, I'm not loved. And so just being with that sensation is not an easy one to meet. And it's wholly untrue. And the reason why it's not easy to meet is because as it hits my heart, it feels incredibly pointy, like there's just like a spear that's coming into my heart over and over and over again. So boom, 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 boom. I'm not loved. I'm not loved. I'm not loved. I'm not loved. And so opening up to be with that one is it requires a lot of time like with me, time alone here, sitting or lying down or breathing. To feel this one fully, to just be fully present with this one. And it's interesting because I was having a reflection came up for me that said, oh, well, you're guiding people embodiment on a video live stream, and you should be authentically speaking about what it is that you're moving through. And it was interesting that this came up because I was looking at it, and obviously the flip of that idea is that I'm not authentically speaking about what I'm moving through. And so I looked at that idea and I was like, oh, well, look at that one. This is interesting. Let me drop that one fully into here and now. And as I felt that one, then it was a lot of judgment that said, oh, well, you're not being yourself in your live videos. And so then I was like, oh, well, what is that? Okay, let me feel that one. And so it's interesting because as I was dissolving all of that structure, then what I began to feel was that the identification with what is being felt, like the story around it, the idea of authenticity, and how that shows up, it shows up in various ways. And so as I see one side of it is like, okay, well, as you're embodying, then there needs to be authentic expression, obviously. Because if there isn't authentic expression, then there's just a covering up of what is there. There's an unwillingness to see it. And so in there not being a willingness to see it, then there's no embodiment there. There's just an idea that's moving you. But the other side of it is that nothing that you're actually feeling is ever really yours, in the sense that the story around it, the story that is created around it, if we continue to energize that, then that story just holds on to the loop. It just creates a looping effect where there's consistently a story that's energizing the idea of a me that's having this feeling, and then that becomes a repetitive pattern. And so this is why I go through and I say, okay, well, this is what I'm feeling, but it's not, there's not a me that's actually feeling this. I don't put a story around it. I don't encapsulate it into a story. I just try to move into feeling the sensation for what it is and just being present with that. And this, I find for myself, is the quickest way through. Because if I start to identify with it, if I start to create a story around it, then there's a victim identity that's created, and that victim identity is sticky. And that victim identity keeps me from being able to move through it with efficiency. And so then I just start beating my head up against it over and over and over again. And it becomes very painful. So, yes, at first, it's very important to have authentic expression as far as what it is that I'm feeling. Like, this is authentically what I'm feeling. And to be able to go into the layers of feeling. Like, I'm feeling this come up for me. This is what is coming up for me. In expression with others. So if I'm not willing to meet it and say that this is what I'm feeling when I'm speaking to others, then I'm projecting. Then I'm projecting whatever it is that I'm feeling onto others, or the idea of others. And this is what we're pretty much doing all the time until we wake up to a certain point where we say, oh, well, let me stop projecting. I recognize now that it's within me. It's all within me. Projection, though, is it's a subtle thing. It gets very subtle. And there's a lot of resistance to letting go of it. Because letting go of it is dissolving layers and layers of identity. For example, the projection around government, the others that are out there that are governing, that are the government of a country. This is projection. This is not actually real, it is a belief. And so this belief creates a projection. And so when I say that I'm feeling a lot of panic come up around the idea of government, then what I'm actually feeling is the idea of government come up. And as it comes up, the recognition that that is just a belief, that there actually is no such thing. And as I begin to feel that there is no such thing, as I begin to allow myself to move through that sensation, that belief that there is a government, because it's a very deep belief. It's core to, it's central to the identity that there is a government and that the government exists and it works for me. It's central to the identity in that the government is created to bring stability to my reality, to my life, in some form or fashion. And so it's a control mechanism. It makes me feel secure in that there is something real here. And yet, as that comes up and I begin to feel it fully and completely and dissolve that idea and the identity that's with it, what is the identity that's with it? The identity that's with it says that I'm a person who lives in a country that has a government, and that government does X, Y, and Z, and has and has a function, and that there is a system here. And as I begin to dissolve that and meet that and dissolve it, then the sensation of that, this is what I was speaking to earlier, the sensation of that I'm feeling as I'm dissolving it, as I'm meeting it fully, it's a lot of panic. A tremendous amount of panic. Because as that one goes, as that one I'm dissolving, then what is left? If there is no government, then what is there? If everything about government was a lie, it's not real, it's just fantasy, it's imagination, it never was real, then what is left? You see, what's left is the unknown. I don't know what that is. And to the mind, that is very scary. And so the sensation is panic, and that is what I've been feeling come up over the course of the past few days. It feels like this January 20th date with the inauguration is some sort of special date, you know, in the sense that it is, there's a lot of ideas around it. There's a lot of ideas about what is coming to pass, what might come to pass, what possibly is there. And those ideas, as I'm feeling them, they're all panicky. They're all very, very panicky. Like, oh my God, what is going on? So notice how I'm moving through this is that I'm recognizing first is that there is a sensation here, that I am feeling something. And then, even though the ideas want me to go into them and make it about me, to create a story around it, to believe a story around it, that it isn't about me. And so this allows me to be more fully present with it, whatever it is. And with the sensation that says nobody loves me, nobody loves me, nobody loves me, nobody loves me, that sensation, as that's been coming up quite a bit, that one is more difficult to disconnect from the story, I find, personally. To just be fully present with that sensation of not feeling loved. And so I found myself moved slightly into projection around that, where I was projecting onto my lover and saying, "Oh well, you're not meeting my needs." Hi, Anjanali. How are you? Nice to see you. Mm. So I find that idea right there, that nobody loves me, it's very persistent and quite a challenging idea to meet, because it comes up in a lot of different ways. It likes to shapeshift and and say that someone is not meeting my needs, someone is not loving me enough, someone is not communicating with me, or is not there for me, and that I'm all alone. And so it likes to shapeshift. And so as I see that one, I was like, oh yeah, that's a tricky one. And when it pulls me into the charge, then there's an inability to recognize the love that's here. There's an inability to feel the love that's here because I get pulled, sucked into the charge. And so the only thing that I'm feeling at that point is charge, is the charged feeling of not being loved, the charged feeling of, and so going into that charge, when it feels like I'm not being loved, it actually feels like hate. It's like, oh wow, that's a lot of hate, because what is the feeling of not being loved? Well, the feeling that I'm not loved points at another, points at a you, and says, well, you're not loving me. You're not loving me. You're not loving me. And so what does that feel like? That feels like hate. It's like, oh, well, you're an asshole. You didn't love me. You didn't love me. So there's hate there. And so I've been feeling this come up, like very strongly over the past 2 days. And so that's probably why I wasn't able to do a live yesterday. It's because it was really strong. You didn't love me. You didn't love me. And so to go into that one, and be fully and completely present with that one, has actually been a lot more challenging than dissolving the panic around all the current events. Dissolving the panic around all the current events, seeing that the government is just an imagination, seeing that there's nothing real around that, that's actually quite easy. It's just like, okay, yeah, there's panic here. Let me feel that. Let me be with that. Wonderful. I don't know what's happening. Wonderful. Nobody knows what's happening. Wonderful. I can be with that. I can feel the stress around it. I can feel the anxiety around it. Wonderful. I'm just fully present with that. And it can leave when it wants to. Cool. But the one that says, oh, I'm not loved, or you're not loving me enough, that one more difficult. I have to get really present around that one. And as I'm getting really present around that one, then what I notice is that it doesn't want to be loved. It's like, because love is always here. So what is that idea? That idea that says, oh, well, you don't love me. It actually doesn't want to be loved. Because when it opens up to the love that is, when it opens up to that it's always been loved, then it collapses. There's no more charge there. It just dissolves. It can no longer sustain its existence. And so this one doesn't want to go anywhere. It's very sticky. I'm like, oh my goodness, wow. All right, wonderful. Pull me into that drama. Pull me into that story for a bit, and I see it like pop out of it. Like, okay, well, I can believe that. I can believe that no one wants to love me. Or I can feel the love that I always am, the wholeness and completeness that I always am, and just stay with that. Wonderful. And these ideas that say that I'm not loved, I don't need to pick them up. I feel them, and they feel like shards going into my heart. It's like, shards. Wonderful. I'm not loved. I'm not loved. Nobody loves me. Another shard. Another shard. All right. Wonderful. Uh-huh. Lot of this coming through. So I was having a conversation with someone earlier, and I wanted to share briefly about this conversation because some things came up in the conversation that I feel are useful for what it is that we're moving through now on day 62 of 99 days of deeper embodiment. Is that and I was talking a little bit about this earlier in this session, is that anything that I'm feeling, if I move into the story around it and I project it outwards, if I believe that the story and I create a reality around me around it, then I'm covering what's there up. I'm covering the charge up. And it's interesting because I was talking to her and she's preparing for a speech that she's going to be giving on a live that's highly publicized. And as I was talking to her, I said, well, yeah, okay, you can go into the whole ideas about you being the person preparing the speech and all of those ideas about why you're doing it and all of those ideas about what it is that you'll speak about and how you'll do that. But the whole point of it, really, the whole reason why you would be doing something like that isn't the intention that you put over what you're feeling. That you say, oh, this is my intention for this speech. It isn't the conscious intention that you write on the piece of paper, because that's what you're putting over what's actually moving you. Take that intention, crumple it up, throw it away, and begin to feel into what it is that's actually moving you. What is it that you are feeling? And what beliefs are there that you are feeling? It is actually moving you in the direction of doing whatever it is that you're doing. So in this example of preparing a speech that's going to be publicized, feel what it is that's moving you in that direction. What ideas are there? And what do they feel like? Every idea has a sensation. Every idea is a sensation. You can feel it. It has a felt sense to it that you can feel as it moves into your heart. Now, your whole body is the heart. The center of the heart is just at the center of your chest, but the whole body is the heart. And as the heart is opening, then it gets more sensitive as to what it is that it's actually feeling, and it gets clearer as far as, oh, that is an idea that says this. And not just clearer within your own self, but clearer within anyone. So all of those ideas are very clearly felt. And so every idea has a sensation. And that sensation can be felt. And so the pointer or the direction to see, to bring into your awareness, to bring into your consciousness what it is that's moving you to do something, is to feel those ideas that are there. What are they saying? So an easy way to start would be to just become present right here and begin to feel into your heart, become very present in your heart. And then focusing very gently on the third eye, allow any of the ideas that come up when you visualize yourself preparing for whatever it is that you're doing. In this example of preparing a speech that will be publicized. So just visualize that you're preparing the speech to be publicized, that you're doing whatever it is that you're doing that is moving you in the direction of doing it, and then feel the sensations in the heart that are there. And then as you feel those sensations, then become present around the sensation, whatever the sensation is, and allow the idea to come into your conscious awareness, whatever that idea may be. And so an inquiry may be helpful, an inquiry that says, okay, what am I feeling? And then move around the sensations and say, okay, I'm feeling hot, cold, I'm feeling a poking sensation, I'm feeling glass shards like I mentioned earlier, I'm feeling a stressful buzz or electricity, whatever it is, it's all just sensation. And so now as you bring awareness to the sensation, then move your consciousness into the sensation. Become more present with it. None of the sensations can actually hurt you. They're just sensations. Become more present around the sensation and in and through the sensation. And as you do, open your mind to whatever images or ideas may be there. And so the ideas may be something like, well, I have to prepare this speech to be recognized, because if I don't, then this will happen. And so that idea is heavy. Why? Because it is creating an ultimatum. It is creating a potential negative timeline. It is creating some sort of consequence. If I don't do A, if I don't do A, then B will happen. And I want to see that. I want to be able to feel that. I want to become more present around that, more aware around that. Because I want to see what that B potential is. What is that B potential? Let me explore that. What am I believing could possibly happen if I don't do A? I'm believing that I'm a failure. I'm believing that I could be financially negatively impacted. I'm believing that I don't have a good reputation and I need to have a better reputation. And then if I don't do A, then my reputation will stay negative, will stay poor. And then I need a better reputation. So what am I seeing here? I'm seeing that I actually have a lot of negative ideas here about who and what I am. Oh, wow. Okay, so those ideas that say that I lack something or that I don't have a good reputation already and I need to improve it, or that I need money even, those are very heavy beliefs, right? So now I can begin to feel those. What do they feel like? You see, so initially, the initial intention, the one that I'm telling myself consciously, I'm doing this because I want to be a very good speaker and I want to have a lot of people um, know what I'm talking about in the work that I'm doing. You see, this is the intention that my mind is telling me. This is why I'm doing this, and this is the one I'm writing down and the one that I'm believing in my conscious mind. Take that away and throw it away and begin to feel what's actually moving me, and it's a very different story. So what is moving me? Stressful ideas, right? And so when I begin to see these stressful ideas and I bring them into my conscious awareness and I start to feel them in my heart, this is when I can activate my superpower, which is to be fully present with them. Now, the more present I am with the idea, the sooner it will dissolve. However, that doesn't mean it will dissolve immediately. Seeing it is the first step. It might take time to dissolve. It might take time for me to be fully present with it to the point where it releases and it dissolves. And so oftentimes it will be helpful to actually move with the idea and do whatever it is that the ideas are pushing you towards, while staying centered and present with what you're feeling. And then this will allow you to move through them quite rapidly. As long as you can see your wholeness and completeness, which is the feeling of being wholeness and completeness always, if you can see that within yourself, then no matter what it is that you're feeling, no matter what sensations are there, and the beliefs and ideas that they're attached to, no matter what is there, you are always free. You are never limited. And so it can be quite useful as you're popping out of these limiting ideas and beliefs, as you're dissolving these boxes, to move with them, but while you move with them, still maintain your focus on your innate wholeness and completeness. See wholeness and completeness here and now, while feeling and being present fully with the ideas that are arising. This is the quickest way to dissolve them, to meet them fully and dissolve them. So I hope this has been illuminating for you, and that it really begins to show you how embodiment works in motion in daily life. So since I did encode this to be 2 days worth of a transmission, you may find that there is a lot of energy here, and it might be helpful to watch this twice because this is a pretty deep download. So have fun with it, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye now.